This is Kim Meyer, host of Choose to Rise. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Throughout history, the course of sports has been shaped by one thing: the fans.
From the moments you never dreamed of,
has saved the USA's life in this World Cup.
Paul, the runner, loose ball, it's good! Gonzaga, the slipper still fits!
To the moments that still give you nightmares.
Behind the bag, it gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth!
through the good and the bad, fans have helped change the games we watch and the players we love.
They may not be the most logical people.
You are a factory of sadness! I'll see you Sunday.
But they know their teams better than anybody.
They'll blow in the ninth.
You may not always see them, but you know where to find them.
After all, there's nothing quite like the view from the cheap seats.
Broadcasting as part of the Public House Media Network.
Grab a chair and enjoy all there is in
The cheap seats.
And happy Friday to you. Jake Holmes, Matt Coyne here on the Friday edition of The Cheap Seats. Jake, how you doing this morning? Before we do anything.
I couldn't be better. How was your fourth, buddy?
It was great. Did you enjoy it? Was it relaxing?
Oh, very, very relaxing. Had a lot of hot dogs just like Joey Chestnut.
Oh,
well, not that many, hopefully.
Yeah, wow. That's impressive. But yeah, it was good. We did the typical fireworks and picnic. It rained here for a lot of the day, which wasn't really fun. I ended up cooking on our stovetop a bunch of burgers and hot dogs. But hey, you'll have that. Anyways, before we get into this, just want to remind y'all out there that we are presented by Squadcast.fm on the Public House Media. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, anywhere you get your podcast. You can learn more about us on thephmedia.com. Like us on Facebook on the PH Media as well. And then our daily poll question and our shows on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on the Cheap Seat Facebook. As always, Christian and Jonathan are on Mondays. Keith and Max are on Wednesdays. And then Jake and me, Matt, are on Fridays. So, Jake, speaking of Joey Chestnut, that's just crazy to me. 74 hot dogs. I was asking Jake off the air. I said, well, I'm confused because I just looked at the replay and he ate 64. And Jake, what did you tell me? Why did it say 64 and it's actually 74?
The scoreboard couldn't keep up with it. Scoreboard couldn't keep up with a man eating hot dogs. That's crazy.
I literally, watching him do that, one, just makes me sick. And two, how does a man eat so many hot dogs in 10 minutes? You're telling me you are eating 7.4 hot dogs a minute. A minute! So that's less than 1 in 10 seconds. How's that possible?
I honestly have no idea. It's amazing. It's amazing. He's got the I love Joey Chestnut. I love what he does. I mean, it's so dumb. He calls it the chipmunk.
Yes.
He goes really quick on about 3 at a time. He puts pretty much 3 at a time, and just goes in on them quick. So yeah, I mean, I love it. I love every minute of it. 11 out of the last 12 Nathan's hot dog eating contests, he's won. And this has no off season. You have all year to train to try to beat this guy. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. And Mickey Sudo,
yes, I was just
37.
Yeah.
She's actually won. I think she's won the last all but one since they've had a women's division. I think she's won all but one.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's just, and to watch, I mean, I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but I mean, you think a guy who would eat 74 hot dogs would be like a pretty big guy. I mean, and he's not. Like, that's the funny thing. I think everybody, it's not all about that. It's about, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's about training just to eat that much. It just amazes me when I saw it. It was so funny. I was hanging out with family. I get a notice on my phone, and I always look at it, and I'm like, oh, big news today. Nothing about soccer, nothing about free agency. Joey Chestnut wins his 11th Nations title, or Nathan's title with 74 hot dogs. I was watching him through the years, Jake, and it's just so crazy how that one year it was just like, he's like, I'm gonna. Well, I remember Kobayashi was the big one, there for a while.
Yeah.
And Joey Chestnut, it's sick because I remember the year that it was a big deal that he overcame Kobayashi, and now he's just unbeatable pretty much.
Yeah, that was 2007, and then 2015 I think was the year like that Matt Stoney or Mark Stoney or whatever.
Yeah,
beat him, and he was just like, oh yeah, I'll just whatever,
Yeah, and how's that possible?
He's like, whatever.
Yeah, and that's how we were actually talking yesterday. We were saying, how's that even like? You're this dominant. You killed everybody in this competition this one year, I guess. Yeah, he was just like, I don't feel like eating this year. But Jake, honestly, how many hot dogs? And this isn't, I don't want you to inflate it. How many hot dogs do you think you could eat in 10 minutes?
You know what? We were talking about this yesterday on Wednesday at a 4th of July party. I honestly think I could down 40 in 10 minutes. I'm a big dude, so like,
really,
it takes a lot for me to get full, and I've downed 15, 20 hot dogs in a sitting before, so I think that I could get 40 in 10 minutes. I really do. How many do you think?
I could maybe. I'll be honest. I could maybe do 20, if that, because I'll tell you why. I hate that feeling of feeling full. Even though I'm a fat dude, I hate that feeling. Like when I start to feel that like stretchy feeling, I'm done, and I actually get sick. So I don't think. I remember back in the day when I don't even know if Quaker Steak and Lubes are things outside of Pittsburgh, but they are. But I remember when they had all you could eat wings, I could down like 60 of them, but I just can't do that anymore. But
now for you, I want to ask you a question. Does the time of year affect that? Because like yesterday, I probably couldn't. But say October, a nice cool fall day, I bet that I could do it. When it heats up and you get all full, and especially like that hot dog full, you got like the acid build up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want any of that.
Well, they said it was like 90 yesterday. It doesn't matter what time of the year. Like even Thanksgiving. I don't pig out just because I just don't like that feeling. So yeah, it doesn't really matter for me. But Jake, I feel like this might have to be. I believe you, but I kind of feel like I want to see this in person. When I visit Pittsburgh the first week of August, I feel like that should be part of our Friday show.
It might be
is seeing how many. I mean, that amazes me because. If you're at that, I feel like we need to start training you, and I think you can do it. I think you can beat Joey Chestnut. I know. I'm joking. I love you, man, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I can eat a lot. I can eat a ton, but
well, you're also
74 hot dogs.
Well,
Great.
you're also some of our listeners probably don't. No, but I mean, with you being a power lifter, I'm sure you have to eat a lot to maintain that. So
yeah, about 4,000 calories a day.
Yeah. So right there, that's helping you, and I respect that because it's disgusting to watch him do that when he puts one of the worst things is eating wet bread, and watching him do that on purpose. I'm like, stop it.
I'm cringing right now.
But anyways, so what a great thing to watch every single year. A great tradition. on July 4th, and I'm glad you had a great 4th. My daughters had a great Captain Comerica day. I was asking my wife, Jake, I said, have we failed our 4-year-old daughter that when she sees an American flag, she says, look, a Captain Comerica flag? I said, are we failing her, or are we like, yeah, she's saying Captain America at the age of 4? I don't know. But we
I think that it's great parenting. I really do.
Well, good. I'm glad. Thank you. So when we come back, Jake and we didn't really get into any other quick headlines. I'm sorry about that. But Jake and I love Joey Chestnut. I mean, how can you not? So, but when we come back, we will be going into NHL Free Agency. A lot has happened since we met last Friday. Jake has a lot of bragging that's due. We'll tell you about that when we come back here to the Cheap Seats. Matt Coyne alongside Jake Holmes.
Sink up to the beat. There ain't no other place that I'd rather be.
And welcome back to the Cheap Seats. Matt Coyne alongside Jake Holmes. Joining us right now is Baxter Colburn. Baxter, are you sick of talking about the World Cup? I know the answer is no, but...
You're correct about that. No, I mean, it's the most exciting time that has the entire world captivated once every 4 years, and it doesn't make me tired to talk about it. I love it. Love every aspect about it.
Yeah, I tell you, it's been really fun to watch. Baxter, you know I'm not a huge soccer fan, but you can't help but watching it. We were out to eat the other day, and you know we were watching it. My father-in-law was asking me all these questions. I was acting like I knew what I was talking about. And Thank you. I thought I did pretty well. So anyway, so 8 teams left down to the Elite 8, if you will, for those basketball fans. But Baxter, what's some things for us to be looking for? I know we talked last week about some of your surprise teams, who to be looking for. So these final 8, what's something we should be getting excited about?
I think that the final 8, the way it's shaped up, is that on one side of the bracket, you are just going to have to get beat up and smacked around to finally get to the World Cup final. And on the other side, it's almost kind of smooth sailing, depending on who you are, I guess, in that situation. Really, what I'm talking about in this situation is on one side, you've got Uruguay playing France. Then you've got Brazil versus Belgium. Those are 4 powerhouse, big juggernauts. Those are your Kentuckys, your Kansases, all the big schools that are doing well in basketball. And then on the other side, you've got Sweden versus England, and then Russia versus Croatia. Those are your Wichita States. And then you've got somebody like a Michigan, like in England, that found their way onto the easier side of the bracket, that all of a sudden everyone's saying, this is our year. It's like, you haven't played anybody. So that's kind of what we're looking at on the right side. Russia versus Croatia. Croatia and England, I believe, are ultimately going to end up meeting in the Final Four on that side of the bracket. And then I believe, kind of breaking it down, it's going to be a toss-up. But I feel like France and Brazil are probably going to be the two that progress from there, as much as I want Belgium to finally get that opportunity at the World Cup final.
Awesome. Have you any of these 8 teams? I mean, obviously, I know we expected Germany to be here, but Russia especially. I know that was a pretty big upset. Was that as big of an upset in your eyes as a lot of other people?
I think when you look at the way the games have panned out, especially in the round of 16, I think that Russia's upset over Spain, I think, is the biggest win of the round of 16. England beating Colombia, that's not a surprise. Sweden beating Switzerland, not a surprise. If Japan had held on to beat Belgium, that would have been one of the biggest upsets, I think, in World Cup history, not just in this tournament. But unfortunately, Belgium brought the blitzkrieg, to borrow one from their German neighbors, and just absolutely came out of nowhere. I mean, they were down 2-0 with, I think they had less than 35 minutes to score 3 goals or something like that, and they came back and did it, and it was amazing to watch. And I think if Japan had held on, that would have been the moment right there. Brazil defeating Mexico, no surprise. Denmark losing to Croatia. If Denmark had beaten Croatia, that would have been kind of a big deal, just because that Croatia has been running high recently. But it really does boil down to the fact of Russia beating Spain, one of the 2 or 3 teams that many pundits had picked to win the World Cup, and now they're out on penalties.
Yeah, That's why I was reading the other day and just seeing how within minutes, and I know you talked about this last week as well, Baxter, just how so many games, I mean, it really came down to minutes, and it's funny because I think people always say, there's only one goal scored in 90 minutes and stuff, that's kind of the big argument with soccer, and you look at all these games, it's like, no, that's not happening this year. It's coming down to within minutes and seconds, so it's been entertaining to watch. Jake, do you have anything that you would like to learn from our World Cup genius this morning?
Well, I do have one question for you, Baxter, right here, real
Sure.
quick. You mentioned obviously, Brazil came in as one of the favorites, and taking on Belgium here coming up, later on today. What chance do you give Belgium? I know you said that you thought Brazil was going to win, but what chance do you give Belgium, to maybe knock out Brazil?
I give Belgium a very high percentage of being able to win this game. I think it really just kind of favors, and I hate to put a non-athlete in the reason that this game could go either ways. It really comes down to the ref in this game, in all honesty, because we've seen the ref dictate play in this World Cup numerous times. Belgium are the better team from a physical perspective, from a skill perspective, and I know people are howling in the streets right now saying, but Brazil has Neymar and all these other creative players. Creativity only gets you so far. Are you actually strong enough to withstand the weight of a butterfly touching your shoulder, or are you going to fall on the ground and scream like you just got shot in the head 4 times, like Neymar's consistently done? And the guys on the Wednesday show asked me that too, saying, what about Neymar's acting antics? How much do you give that realistic? And I don't know if you guys saw the play that many folks were talking about, but his ankle got stepped on by a player from Mexico, and he rolled on the ground for a good minute and a half. And then here he comes a couple minutes later, full sprint down the side of the field to provide that first assist for the goal that ends up helping them win the game. Like, come on, like where's the line where you go from like, I can't, just amputate me from the waist down right now because I'm in so much pain, and then I'm fine, and then fly down the field. So I think that Belgium has the better team. I think Belgium's the stronger team. I feel like, unfortunately, Brazil's going to find a way to be a little bit more cheeky because they've got some really quality shooters from distance, especially, that might prove to be an issue for Belgium's goalkeeper.
Great, yeah. I saw that the other day as well, and I thought that was interesting. I mean, well done, bravo. But
yeah, somebody made a great video of like him getting injured and then like him consistently like rolling like down the street, like into like a library, through a grocery store. Like, it was so funny.
I remember somebody did that with the LeBron thing a few years ago too. Whenever the trip, and they like had him tripping everywhere through town.
Yep, I remember that. That was funny.
Yeah, so this weekend we got games later today and tomorrow, if I remember right. So I know you've probably been asked this a lot. I know we've asked you, but who out of these 8 who remain, are you still sticking with your guns, or have you?
I want it so bad for England. I really do, because I mean, they finally overcame their hurdle of the penalty kick shootout. I don't know if people outside of England really understand the ability that England just had to kind of harness to get out of a penalty shootout. On the positive side of it, they've gotten screwed over so many times, and the fact that Eric Dyer finally sank that final shot for them, and they went through. Like, I feel like England feels like they just won the World Cup because they actually won a penalty kick shootout on an international stage.
It was like the Capitals when they finally beat the Pens.
Right, like, exactly. They're going to raise a banner at Wembley Stadium saying finally won a penalty kick shootout. Like, it's amazing. I want England so badly to do well, to win this World Cup. I really do. I get more emotion about England doing something than I do really any of these other teams in the tournament. I'd love to see a France-England World Cup final, honestly. I think that would be awesome for the game of soccer, because those are 2 of the pinnacle foundations and 2 of the highest leagues in the world as well, too, with the French League and with the Premier League, of course, in England. So to have those all featured at one final stage would be awesome, in my opinion. I don't think there's really a true loser in that scenario if those 2 teams made it to the final.
Yeah. Well, Baxter, as always, thank you for joining us. We look forward to hearing more from you, obviously, as we get down to 4 and then eventually the championship. Where can we follow you? I know you tell us all the time, but for new listeners, where can we follow you and hear more about your World Cup information?
Yeah, well, I do the show here on Public House Media called Your Soccer Passport. Myself and a bunch of other hosts as well too. We're on all the platforms, on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all those other ones too. So to get a deeper, in-depth look at the World Cup, you can follow the show on those. It's called Your Soccer Passport World Cup Edition, and then you can follow me at Baxter Colburn on all the fine social media platforms.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks as always for joining us. We always enjoy having you on. It's always a treat for me. For Jake, I don't. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, it always is. It always is for me too.
Oh, thanks, guys. You're the best.
But when we come back here, Jake and I will be going into our new Friday segment. We're starting July off right. Baxter, you'll have to come on one day. We're starting a quiz.
Awesome.
We're doing a quiz show, and so you'll have to come on sometime and join us for that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So.
I would love that. Thanks, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us. Again, here in the cheap seats with Jake and myself. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Cheap Seats. Jake Holmes, Matt Coyne. Jake, I'm just going to give you the platform here. Go ahead as I sit back and you do your gloating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, John Tavares, my bold prediction was right for once. I actually had one right. John Tavares, the Toronto Maple Leaf. Mm-hmm. And you know what, Matt? I don't know how you feel about it, but I got a little bit of flack for it. I don't think it makes the Leafs much better. I just don't. They had Tyler Bozak, and obviously Tavares is a big upgrade from Tyler Bozak. You know, Bozak's a really nice player. He's going to help St. Louis out a lot next year. But John Tavares, they needed something to help their blue line. That's why they lost to the Boston Bruins in the first round last year in the playoffs. They needed Erik Karlsson more than they needed John Tavares. You know, as far as that, they needed a defenseman. They needed somebody to be able to help them on defense more than they needed John Tavares. And as you know, beautiful and you know as beautiful as it looks, you know, to have Austin Matthews and John Tavares as your two top line centers, it's not going to make them any better. I don't think. Right now, their Vegas odds to win the Stanley Cup next year is 6-1. That's tied with the Tampa Bay Lightning for best odds. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're a top 3 team in the East still. I just don't. I think honestly, what the Penguins have done is what the Penguins did. Bringing in Jack Johnson, Matt Cullen, helping out the blue line and giving a little bit more depth. I think they're still better.
I love seeing Matt Cullen back.
I do too, and a lot of people don't, and I just don't. I don't understand it. The guy can play both center and wing. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that they brought in Matt Cullen, and I think the Penguins are better. I think the Lightning are much better. The Lightning have 4 elite defensemen, on 2 of their pairings. And I still think the Boston Bruins might be better. I just don't think that the Toronto Maple Leafs are. I just don't think that did enough for them. Yeah. And they lost James Van Riemsdyk to Philadelphia. Everybody's, all high on Toronto just because they're Toronto. I don't think that they're that much better now that they have John Tavares, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't think of it that way. When you start putting the other teams in and what they've done, and it was like they put so much effort into getting Tavares, and 7 years, $77 million. Is that? I thought it was going to be a little higher than that. Am I wrong in thinking that? Do you think it's higher? Am I thinking? Overvaluing?
I think with John Tavares, he was going to probably come in at about. There were teams that offered him 13. Wow. $13 million, and he wanted to go home to Toronto. I mean, who could blame him, honestly?
No,
if you or I could play for the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Pirates or something. Well, not the Pirates. I wouldn't want to go.
I'd rather play for the Washington Wild Things.
First place thing.
Yes,
first place. But yeah, I mean, 11 million sounds probably about right, except when you look at Sidney Crosby's contract. I mean, Sidney Crosby's making 8.7, ironically. But yeah, I think that it's probably about right for the current value, of what guys like that are getting. But I just don't think that Tavares is. He's a really fine player. Don't get me wrong. He's the best UFA that the NHL's had in years. But I don't know. I just don't think that he catapults the Maple Leafs much more than they already were. They were already a promising young team. They're still a promising young team. And let's face it. Yeah. Sorry. John Tavares is a great player, but it's not like the Islanders were all that great with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like, I know it's different with basketball and hockey, but it's not like what LeBron did with, for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, a lot of movement, in the top 10, 15, 20 of unrestricted free agents. A lot of teams or a lot of players going to other teams. Jake, was there any surprises for you? Obviously, Tavares wasn't a huge surprise to you because that was your prediction. But any surprises for you of the top 8 free agents and where they went?
I don't know if it was necessarily a surprise. Actually, there were kind of two surprises. One was a surprise based on the money he got. The other one was a surprise that he left. So, James Van Riemsdyk getting $7 million is absolutely atrocious. I'm sorry, James Van Riemsdyk. He's a good player. He's 29. He's getting $7 million to be nothing more than a second line wing. You know what I mean? And Philadelphia paid him just a stupid amount of money. And it's funny story about that is Ron Hextall was sending him his contract and JVR's printer was broke. His printer was broke. And I was just thinking wow, this gives Ron Hextall every last chance to get out of this contract.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 5 years, $7 million per. I can't believe the Flyers did that. I honestly can't. Plus this year it's going to be an even start of the season's an even year. The Flyers probably aren't going to be very good this year. So, but yeah, I thought that money was outrageous. But James Neal leaving Vegas, I was very surprised.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was very surprised. He took, and the thing is James Neal, in my opinion, is better than James Van Riemsdyk. I mean, honestly, and he's getting $1.25 million less, but what I like about that is that he went to Calgary. He's going to be able to probably play on the same line as Johnny Gaudreau. Calgary's going to be really good next year. I really like Calgary. They made the trade to get Noah Hannafin and Elias Lindholm from Carolina. I like that team. They're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to be a really tough team, are the Calgary Flame.
Yeah. I was surprised that Golden Knights didn't keep Neal or Perron, to be honest with you. I thought for sure they were going to keep one, if not both of them. So to see both of them go, the Blues getting Perron and Bozak, though, I thought was huge for them already. Obviously, a great team, but I was surprised seeing both of them leaving the Knights.
Yeah, I was too. They were kind of like the cornerstones, the veteran presence, the guys that were really like those two and Marc-Andre Fleury. They advertised those guys as the face of that organization from day one, and both of them left. I like how they brought in Paul Stastny.
Yeah,
I like that. Paul Stastny's really good. They needed help down the middle. That's really why they couldn't keep up with the Capitals in the Stanley Cup final. But really, I think all of this is going to come down to Erik Karlsson. They want Erik Karlsson bad. And I think with them dropping, them allowing Perron and James Neal to go, that gives them a little bit even more cap space so they can give Erik Karlsson that $11 million about $11 million. That's what those defensemen are going for right now. Give them $11 million, sign him to an extension. He's only got 1 year left on that current contract. Give him the extension and have Erik Karlsson be a part of a team that's only in their second year of existence.
Yeah. Are you surprised, and maybe I missed this and he was signed, are you surprised that Rick Nash hasn't been picked up by just a team looking for an older winger, just kind of to fill in the gaps?
I guess I am. I can be. Because Rick Nash is still, I still think Rick Nash can help a team.
Yeah.
He's 34. He may be a little bit expensive for what he does. But I mean, again, a team like Columbus, a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets could use him. I don't know if they would bring him back, or even if he would want to play for John Tortorella. But yeah, Rick Nash could help a team that needs a little bit of a scoring presence. I would like to see him in Florida, maybe, if Florida's got the room to do it. Florida's another really nice young team that could use a guy like that, a veteran presence. Yeah, I think Rick Nash can help a team. I'm a little bit surprised that he hasn't signed somewhere.
You think Yager's coming? I'm just kidding. Yeah. So it's been. There's still a couple left in the balance, just waiting to see where they end up going. Jake, who do you think out of the top? And I'm talking playoff teams, or just one of those top tier teams. Who do you think in the East got better? Who do you think in the West got better after free agency?
Ooh, well, I touched on it a little bit. I think Calgary got a lot better.
Yes, yep.
I think Calgary is going to be one of the top 3 teams in the Pacific next year. I really do. I like them. I liked them before, but now especially, I think that they're very good. I think that they're just about ready. And as far as the East, I mean, I guess you have to say. I mean, I guess I have to probably say Toronto. I mean, I don't want to, but I mean, they're the one that made had the biggest name that came off the board. But honestly, I'll tell you, and not to be a homer, I think Pittsburgh got better. I really do. I think that they needed to get Connor Sheary's contract off the board, and I think that they needed to get Tom Kuhnhackl and Carter Rowney out so they could get their money. But Tom Kuhnhackl didn't bring anything to the team other than penalty killing. With Matt Cullen, you get a two-way guy that can do pretty much anything. Jack Johnson, I think a nice fresh start will be good for him. And not only that, with the moves that you made, getting Connor Sheary's contract off the board, you're allowed to bring in Daniel Sprong. You're allowed to bring up, the high flying forward from Wilkes-Barre that is pretty highly regarded, amongst the fan base and the organization. I think Pittsburgh really did something, and Washington, I think, did enough. They were able to keep John Carlson. So those are 3 teams, I think, that really got a little bit better.
Great. Well, it's starting to wind down, so Jake, we're gonna be running out of NHL stuff here soon. But before you know, we're gonna be right back into the season. So,
you better believe it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been fun to watch NHL Free Agency, obviously NBA Free Agency. The other 2 shows have been touching a lot on that, but LeBron Mania, obviously he picked going to LA. So I'll be honest with you, I loved it. I know a lot of people don't. I mean, his kids go to school out there. This was different for him. It wasn't as big a show. We talked about that last week, Jake, that it's more about his family, it seems like. So free agencies running down, but it's like we said, NHL's gonna be starting up here pretty soon. So stay with Jake and Matt here in the cheap seats. When we come back, we will be talking MLB and talking about we haven't touched on in a few weeks, but just talk about what's been going on there.
As long as you'll be my friend at the end. If I go crazy and blue, you still call me Superman. If I'm alive and well, will you be there holding my hand?
Welcome back to the Cheap Seats. Jake Holmes alongside Matt Coyne. Before we get started, I want to remind you can go on the phmedia.com to get some swags for the shows, for the Cheap Seats, and for other shows here on Public House Media. Jake, we're going to go into we've been enjoying just kind of going through the standings of in the MLB, kind of seeing where teams are falling. The first thing, I believe it was, I know the news broke on July 4th, but the Washington Nationals under 500 at that point, and having an all players meeting. I'm very surprised that we're just past the halfway point. I know it's the official. I know they always say the All-Star game's the unofficial halfway, but they are past the halfway point. Nationals are struggling a lot this year. Are you surprised by that?
Oh, I am. I really am. Yeah. I thought that they would run away with that division, honestly, and turns out the Braves, and really the Phillies as well. So, the thing with the Nationals is that they've had to battle the injury bug a little bit, especially through their rotation. So, but yeah, there's 7 games out right now under 500. The team's not good. They just don't look right.
Yeah.
What was it? I think it was Sunday or Monday or something. They put up 17 or 15 against 17 or 18 against the Phillies, but they've won, I think, like 2 or 3 of their last 16. They're playing terrible right now, and Bryce has to step up. Bryce really does have to step up. I'm a huge Bryce Harper fan. I know a lot of people aren't, but yeah, between that and the injuries on the mound, they're really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's just every time I check in, kind of seeing their replays, see where they're kind of what they did for the day. Just shocked how the year they're having, but. I just wanted to get your input on that, but we'll start, as we always do, in the American League with the East. Jake, we've been together now for about 2 months, I would say. We started talking about the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, and they are still 1 game apart. This race, I don't remember, I guess because it's the Red Sox and the Yankees, Jake, but I don't remember a race being this close for this long. Normally, at one point throughout the year, you have one team maybe getting 5-6 games ahead, and then the other team comes back. But it's been pretty much all year they're 1 game apart, and it's been fun to watch. It's their run production is just, both teams are just absolutely out of this world. The Red Sox are plus 30-ish in runs scored to runs against. Yankees are plus 20-ish. With the same. I think we've talked about this before, Jake. But do you see any reason that why this wouldn't come down to the last game?
Honestly, no. The thing with this is it's so interesting because, like you said, it's the Red Sox and the Yankees. It's good for baseball, whether you like the teams or not. It's always baseball's better when these teams are good. You know what I mean? So really, and as far as the race with it being so long, the closest thing that I can remember, I know that you can too, is 2015, the National League Central. Pretty much that entire year was. Furthest they got was probably 3 to 5 games, that became separated. But yeah, both teams can crush the ball. Mookie Betts is back, and he's back doing his thing. The Yankees are struggling a little bit with injuries. They just had to put Glaber on the DL, and Glaber Torres on the DL, and I believe Gary Sanchez too. But the thing that's crazy is Andrew Romine can come in at catcher, and there's not too much of a drop off. You know what I mean? So it's amazing what they can do. In 1 through 9, there's no easy out on that team, on really either one of those teams. It's wild. And the cool thing about it too is that those are 2 big market teams, and what they've done with these teams in particular is develop them throughout their organization, which is really impressive.
Yeah, so those 2 teams will be fun to watch down. I like we both just kind of both said, down to the. You always have injuries that play into that, but we'll see what happens. The Central, there's really not much to talk about there. Cleveland Indians are just running away with that division, which they were definitely the favorite for me. That's who I picked out of this division. I thought Detroit would give them more of a battle. I didn't think they were going to run away with it too much. But it amazes me, Jake, that I know they're a small market team, but Kansas City, just a few years back, what they were doing, and now they have the second worst record in the MLB. And it's just, this really is what grinds my gears, if you will, about the major leagues. That how does a team go from such greatness to such terribleness in such a short amount of time? And I don't know about you, Jake, but this is where I come in and saying something needs to be fixed about the major leagues, in my opinion. Maybe you like it. I know some people do. I don't. I think it's unfair that the Kansas City Royals literally had to give up a dynasty because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I really do. You know, Kansas City, and the thing is that they developed their players too. They had a killer farm system, and again, they couldn't afford to keep them. I agree. Baseball needs to do something, even if it's like the luxury tax thing, like the NBA does.
Yeah.
Like I get it. You know, like I get that you have to do something to enforce. Something, but this free reign is garbage.
Yeah,
it really is. Kansas City was just winning the World Series like two or three years ago. It was 2014. It was like, how do you get so bad in that short amount of time?
Yeah,
I just, and the only possible way is if somebody comes in and literally steals everything that you have, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's sad. It really is. It's really sad. And Kansas City waited a long time for that. 1985, I think, was the last time that they were in the playoffs before 2014. I believe. I could be wrong.
I think you're right, because I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just amazing. It's just amazing to me, and it's really the same way with the Orioles too. The Orioles, they were just doing really well just a few years ago. About the same time period, they were fantastic. They were hitting 5-6 home runs a game. I mean, their park's small, but yeah, that fires me up. Sorry, Matt, I get a little bit fired up. And plus, of course, the Pirates too. You know.
Yeah, and that's it's good and good for the Kansas City Royals. But I'll be honest, I mean, during that time, I was a little jealous. I'm like, this is the Pirates' time frame too to do it, and they just didn't come through. That's a whole other discussion that Jake and I won't get into. But it really does make it really does upset me. And I mean, we're talking about the Royals, so we're not being homers here. I mean, it's a shame that these small market teams just cannot compete. I mean, in some ways, I've talked to people before, Jake. I said it would be hard for me to play MLB baseball, and I know this is very selfish, but I would just be like, listen, we don't have a chance. What's the purpose of beating myself up for 162 games just to finish with another losing season? And even if we do well, in about 2-3 years, we're gonna have to give them all up anyways because we won't be able to afford them. And I think that's wrong. So, anyways, I guess Jake and I got a little heated about that, but rightly so. So, going over to the West, Astros, Mariners, a game and a half apart. They, if you listen to this game or if you listen to our show on Saturday, or this could change, but this is kind of where I thought it would be. The Angels, I thought were. Well, here's the thing. Los Angeles Angels are not having a bad year. They're right around 500. Astros, Mariners, and Athletics, though, are having amazing years. This is one of the most competitive divisions, and having 4 teams at around 500 or above. So, Astros, Jake and I talk about their pitching all the time, and it's starting to show. They've led up to around 270 runs this year, which I believe by far is the least amount of runs given up. So, Jake, are you this division? It's really nothing really exciting to talk about, I think, other than really the Astros. But Mariners, we both have said it. We love we love that the Mariners are relevant again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the thing, Seattle kind of fell off a little bit recently. They had an East Coast trip. They really struggled against the Phillies. They struggled in Baltimore. But But yeah, I mean, they're still there. They're still only a game and a half back.
Yeah,
it's great. I really like the Mariners. Houston's just boring, man.
Yes,
they're so good. It's boring to talk about.
Yeah, it's the pitching. You know, people like seeing the run production, but I mean, they're scoring runs too. 400. You know, they're almost 450 in run production, which is just amazing to watch. It's you're right though. It's kind of when you don't have a horse in the game, you know, per se, even though the Mariners, I mean, any 90s child for some reason is just pulled towards the Mariners because Kenny Griffey Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he was the coolest dude. He was the coolest dude. He wore the hat backwards, you know, he wore the wristbands, you know, he was cool. He was like what Allen Iverson was to basketball.
Yes, yep.
In my opinion. You know what I mean? Like he brought out like the sleeves and all the you know, the headbands and stuff. Griffey Jr. did the same thing for baseball, but as far as like me with this division, what's gotten so interesting is everybody's just forgotten about the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
The Oakland A's are 8.5 games out. They aren't going to win the division, but you know what? They might get a wild card spot. You know, you never know. They're 10 games over 500 right now. They've got an amazing bullpen. You get to this if they're in a game until the 6th inning, they're probably going to win because their bullpen's so good.
Yep.
So yeah, I really like them. The Angels have Ohtani back. He just got reinstated off the DL. Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch down the stretch here.
Yeah. Yeah, so going over to the National League, as Jake and I said, that the Atlanta Braves are, you know, doing really well this year. I feel like we're back in the 90s watching the Mariners and Braves picking it back up. But they're a game and a half over on Philly. We talked about the Nationals already. Braves, you know, you touched on it a couple weeks ago when we talked about, you know, they're a young team, and they I feel like they're peaking earlier than people thought. But we're more than halfway through the season, and we've talked about when do you start with baseball with it being such a long season? When do you start saying, okay, they're legit? And I think they're legit, Jake. You're not 15-ish games over 500 and this far into the season and not be, you know, legitimate contenders.
Yeah, they're really good. Their middle infield's so good. That's what's so impressive is that they got Ozzie Albies and then they got Dansby Swanson. So their middle infield's set. And, you know, Freddie Freeman over at first. The team's just overall a really good team. They're a really good team. They've got their ace in Tarahan. They're really good. I like the Braves, and I think again, just like the Red Sox and Yankees, when the Braves are good, I think baseball's good.
Yep.
But Philadelphia really surprises me. But Aaron Nola is just disgusting. He's disgustingly good. I was watching Phillies Nationals last week, I think. Dude just came out and was still peppering 98 mile an hour, 110 pitches in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's ridiculous. And he kind of came at it. I mean, he was good before, but I mean, this is really his year. But the thing that's tough for him is there's zero chance he wins the Cy Young.
Yeah.
You know, there's zero chance with what Scherzer does in Washington. And that's what's even crazier to think how bad the Nationals are. Scherzer's killing it.
Yeah.
You know, he's won like a third of their games already. So, yeah, it's wild. And I mean, it's good for baseball to have a little bit of a different looking thing.
I agree. And this year it's nice because there's definitely a different look in almost every division, from last year, which is pretty cool. So, going over to the Central, Brewers them in Chicago have been going back and forth, and I think this is exactly where I had this division. I know, Jake, I think you had the Cubs first, if I remember, Brewers second, but you can see these two are starting to separate from the rest, Cardinals, Pirates, and then Reds and the cellar dwellers. But the thing that, and of course we're going to talk about the Pirates, but the thing that amazes me is that they're only 2.5 games above Cincinnati. I mean, at one point, Cincinnati was 16 games out of first when the Pirates were floating around, first, second place. I mean, it just amazes me to watch how this team has just plummeted to be not well below 500, Jake, but a pretty good amount below 500. But excuse me, Brewers just continue to play great baseball, and I don't see this division changing. I think this is going to be a pretty boring division to watch, other than the Brewers and the Cubs.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna start out with talking about the good, and then I'll probably talk about the bad here. But Milwaukee's great. We've talked about it before. Small market team actually going out and doing their thing, actually going out and getting not the expensive players but the affordable ones.
Mm-hmm.
The Christian Yelich's, and it's helped them. And the Cubs are right there. They have a lot more money to spend, but the Brewers, they know their window, just like the Royals did. And they're cashing in on it. They've got the best record in the National League, and really, they're the best team in the National League. As far as the basement of that division, the Pittsburgh Pirates are pathetic. They really are. I have just about lost every last. My patience is out the window. Mm. This team went to the playoffs 3 years in a row. They won a wild card. They had their window. They knew it. This team doesn't care. The organization doesn't care about winning. They don't. They kept Josh Harrison around for what? Get rid of Josh Harrison. He's a great player, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win. You're wasting his time. You're wasting everybody in that organization's time. Give the chances to the Austin Meadowses. Give those guys the chance and develop them as players. Quit screwing around and having Gregory Polanco play over Austin Matthews when you have no future for him. Yeah. I've had it. They're right there with the Reds for the worst team in the division, and that to me is just amazing. The Reds are terrible. I just can't believe it. The Reds started out the season 3-16.
Yeah, their coach was fired. It's
unbelievable.
No, it's and it's a shame because after all these years, I love the Pirates. I mean, baseball's I go back and forth with baseball and football being my favorite sport to watch, and I have just followed them since I was a little kid, and you get more and more frustrated every year, and it's to the point of when's it going to stop? They had, like you said, Jake, they had their window, they had their chance, didn't take it. Obviously, now that's gone, and I agree with you. For the purposes of the players themselves, just let the good players go. If you're not going to worry about winning, just let them go, have a chance. As much as I hated seeing, McCutchen leaving, I'm glad they got rid of him. I know, he has a better chance in San Francisco of going further. So
much better chance. And real quick, sorry to go on with this, but the Pirates have the second lowest attendance in baseball right now. The second lowest. They're averaging like 11,000 fans a game, which is awful.
Well, a lot of people have boycotted them. There's that petition going around. I think they reached, if I remember, they were like over 30,000 people. I could be wrong, but I thought that's what it was. But it's Jake and I could talk about this all day. Yeah, you got two bitter fans. Maybe when we're together in August, we can cry together and talk more. But so unfortunately, the West. Maybe next time when we do this, we'll start with the National League. So. National League West gets some more love, but Diamondbacks, Dodgers, going back and forth there. Giants Giants and Rockies are a couple of games back as well. That's a close division, but unfortunately we don't have much time to talk about them. But definitely a close division, other than the Padres. But Jake, I think that'll be a division that I think any of those four teams can take it.
Oh, I agree. In San Francisco, Mad Bum's back. He's been back, but he's starting to get his wits about him again. Which is good. And the Giants, they deserve it. That's another team where they have the base, they have the platform. Brandon Belt's having a great year. Brandon Crawford's having a great year. They brought in the free agents. They're doing a really fine job. But the Diamondbacks are so good. Yeah, the Diamondbacks are really good. Greinke's having a year of his life, I should say. And really, the Dodgers are right there as well. Only a year removed from going to the World Series. They had a slow start. They had a very slow start, but they're back. They're back killing it. They're 10-ish games over 500. They just beat the Pirates 17-1 the other night. So
it's not a bad night.
There's not bad. Matt Kemp, I think, went 5 for 5 or something. So to have him come back and do that is certainly a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll obviously keep coming back to baseball as they go throughout the year, getting closer to the Midsummer Classic. And Jake and I will keep complaining about the Pirates because that's what we do. But when we come back, Baxter Colburn is going to be joining us to talk about the World Cup because Jake and I don't know much about it. So he will come and share his expertise with us with down to the final 8. Stick with Jake and me here in the cheap seats. Welcome back to the cheap. Baxter, thank you for joining us. I wish you could have joined us for this special occasion. Jake and I are starting July off the right way. We are changing our bold prediction segment and calling this our quiz show. Jake and I we're not good at bold predictions. We tried to make which is funny because Jake, you got this last one right and then we stopped it, but end on a high note, you know?
I think as soon as I was starting to heat up, we ended it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So you could say that you ended on a high note, which one of my quiz questions for you is not the case for one of these players. So what we are going to do is, this will be fun. Jake and I are going to start today with just asking each other 3 questions. And then we will bring special guests on to either be our quiz master. What we'll probably do is have this person play against Jake or myself, and then the other one will come up with the questions. So it'll be fun. Listeners, if you would like to be part of that, please contact Jake or myself on the Cheap Seats Facebook page, and we would love to have you on to compete against Jake or me, because we're both idiots. We don't know what we're talking about, so you're most likely going to beat us. So Jake, if you don't mind, I'll go first and ask you the first question because it has to do with NHL. So this question dates back though. So maybe that'll give you a little clue here. All right, here you go. Question 1. The very first question here on our quiz show. Jake, which coach came off the bench in the Stanley Cup Finals to play for his team? Was it, I'll give you a choice, I'm not going to just make you guess here. Was it Toe Blake, Wayne Gretzky, Dick Irvin, or Lester Patrick?
Oh, geez, I'm honestly not sure. I don't think it was Gretzky. Yeah, it wasn't Gretzky. Lester Patrick.
You are right. Lester Patrick in 1928. He came in and played goalie. Their goalies got hurt. He had to come off the bench and play. Jake, not only did he come off the bench and play, but he gave up 1 goal for the Rangers and then defeated the Montreal. Do you know who they were in 1928?
Maroons?
Yes, yeah. Good job. Look at Jake. Man,
bonus point.
Maybe I'm the idiot. All right, Jake, what's your first question for me?
Okay, so first week these might be a little bit too hard or too easy. So I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
So
I hope they're too easy.
In 2010, the Butler Bulldogs came a shot away from beating the Duke Blue Devils. Who missed the last second shot for Butler?
I even followed that year so close because of Pitt. I think that was the year that they beat Pitt, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
I remember that team so well. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think who. I don't know, Jake. I'm not going to waste time. I don't know.
Yeah, Gordon Hayward.
Ah!
Gordon Hayward.
I was trying to think Gordon Hayward. I couldn't think of his name. All right,
Yep.
good question, and I should have known that because I followed that year really close. See, I'm an idiot. It's all right. We shouldn't do this because I'm just going to end up crying after each segment. Okay. MLB. We're going over the MLB for your next question, Jake.
This is going to be bad.
Which player... I think you'll enjoy this. Which player retired with the same amount of homers as his dad? So, not really that hard of a question. I don't think. I'm going to give you 3. Terry Francona, Roberto Alomar, or Prince Fielder.
Prince and Cecil, that's what I'm going with.
Again, you are correct. 2 for 2. Now, bonus question. Do you know how many home runs? Within, over under
500, 585.
No, 319.
Oh, wow, I was way off.
Hey, that's okay. But yeah, what a special moment to have as father-son. That's pretty cool. All right. So Jake is 2 for 2. I am 0 for 1, about to be 0 for 2. So Jake, go ahead and with your next question.
All right, so this is in your wheelhouse. This is football. So there's 2 teams that are 0 and 4 in Super Bowls. Name the one that's not the Buffalo Bills.
Vikings.
Very good. Ding, ding, ding.
Nice.
Money.
Now I feel smart a little. Not really. Because I now live in Green Bay. No, just kidding. That's not why. But yeah, that's. I was hoping you wouldn't say. I was hoping you would say name one because of course I was going to say the Bills. All right, so Jake 2 for 2. I am 1 for 2. Jake, last question. We're going to go over to football as well, and this is what I was talking about not ending on a high note. This is the only NFL running back to finish with 10 or more carries to finish his career to gain negative yards. Does that make sense?
Run that by me again.
So this NFL quarterback finished his career with 10 or more carries and it totaled in negative yards.
Okay.
Reggie Bush, Darren McFadden, I can never say his name, Kawana Carter, or Blair Thomas.
Oh, it was Reggie Bush.
Yes. I knew that would be too easy. Reggie Bush was so good in NCAA, though. Oh, my God.
Oh, it was insane. Yeah, they need to bring that game back.
I know. Why did they get rid of that?
It had something to do with, like, the contract or something with EA, I think. It was something stupid. Drives me nuts. But
all right, so 3 for 3, Jake. I wish I had a cheer. Yeah! I don't have we need to get a cheering section here. That'll be great.
I guess we do. We do. You got to bring some guests on to cheer. But okay, so my last one, hockey.
Okay.
Mario Lemieux has done a lot of great things in his career. Did a lot of great things in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He scored 5 different ways in a game. Name those 5 ways.
You mean like assisted, unassisted kind of thing?
So like even strength, short-handed.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I do remember that game. See, well, obviously yes, even strength, short-handed, penalty shot. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, it would be so I'm sorry. Even strength, power play, short-handed, penalty shot. That's 4.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the 5th. Empty net?
Yep.
Ah,
bang,
nice.
Bang. Nice work.
Hey, thanks. Man, I don't feel too dumb. So we only got one question wrong among us two, and it was me.
That's
so
pretty good.
Yeah, that makes
pretty
good. So obviously, moving forward, the listeners out there, I know this first week we're trying this out. So like I said, if you want to join us, we'd love to have you as a guest to compete against Jake and myself, I guess we're a little bit better than I thought. But as Jake said, this week I think we were trying to fill out. We'll get questions here and get a little bit better at this, and you so see where we go. But we'd love to have you on. We'll probably have other guests from the Monday Wednesday show on and go from there. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So. Jake, thanks for doing that with me, and I think
moving forward,
that was
a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun moving forward. So before we head out here, the poll question for today that you can find on the Cheap Seats Facebook page is: are you grossed out by watching Joey Chestnut eating 74 hot dogs? Are you grossed out by that? Yes or no? And what I'm talking about is when Jake and I said about dipping the bread into just water and eating it, like just letting it slide down their gullet. So Jake, it is always a pleasure. I'm glad you had a good 4th of July. I hope you have a good weekend. I'm excited to be here with you in a few weeks to be able to record side by side. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be I was thinking we could go to Tinker's Run, our old stomping ground of softball, and record there. That'd be fun. But thank you to Baxter Colburn. Why am I having trouble saying Baxter's name today? He's going to yell at me. Baxter, thanks for joining us today to talk about World Cup. Make sure you come back on Monday to be with Christian and Jonathan, and then Wednesday with Keith and Max, and then next Friday with Jake and me, Matt Coyne. We will see you next week here in the Cheap Seats.